For me, pieces of being exemplifies how we're all made up of these intricate pieces of carbon bonds. And in a scientific sense, carbon bonds make up all living organisms and even sometimes past living organisms. That theory, I guess, it leans onto the understanding that we're all one in a sense. Definitely different and made up of different combinations, but of the same things, the same kind of materials when you come to it, but not necessarily trying to exemplify differences, but maybe leaning on to the understanding of sameness. And that's what my pieces simplify. I mean, they're all made up out of metal, and they're supposed to take on the forms of either people or things that we come across in our lives, to magnify and kind of exaggerate this oneness by showing that these little intricate puzzle pieces, when you mash them together in their own unique way, they make the uniqueness of everything that we're seeing. So that was the reason for naming this exhibition Pieces of Being, listening to Gil Scott-Heron's music, Pieces of a Man, and understanding the lyricism behind that beautiful album from the 1970s, during a time where people were openly discussing how they felt in the world as individuals and as people. Kind of identifying, well, what does it really necessarily mean to be a man? And this was not necessarily from the space of gender, but more of the space of race and national and your identity, as it in regards to the color of your skin. Does it afford you the same space as a man as it does another group of men who call themselves men, in a time again where things are on a more they occupy so many different lenses, whether it's socioeconomic, intersectionality, sexuality, like your geographic location, et cetera, et cetera. And there's so many ways that we have categorized ourselves now to kind of be able to give a narrative about who we are through storytelling. And underneath all the narratives, you still kind of end up at the same carbon bond at the beginning and at the end of every distinction between living organisms on the planet today. So that is what I discuss. And sometimes when you discuss it with people, sometimes people take it as a jarring thing to say that we're all the same, because we really get our currency in our differences. And that is not necessarily something that I set up or you set up. They didn't think of that on their own. That was something that was given to them as a way to hold a currency as value towards another group, to distinguish yourself. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just trying to say, well, thank you for that insight, but here's the overall scientific insight. If we're dealing with science, here's the scientific insight about all of us. There's a oneness, and it's aside these carbons. So that is how I look at my art, and I utilize my art not necessarily to tell stories, but to also create images of life and things in life that I kind of enjoy, whether it be people or automobiles or new inventions or things that are in my mind that I feel that other people might enjoy as well. So this is not necessarily an endeavor that once I'm in, I will quickly leave. It's something that I've been in for my life, and I will continue to create.